Welcome to another deep dive. Today we'll be exploring a book that tells the story of modern computing, The Dream Machine, by M. Mitchell Waldrop.
It's a great book, really. A unique look at how computers came to be, not just about the technical stuff, but the people behind it all.
That's what I'm excited to get into. What comes to mind when you hear The Dream Machine? What dreams fueled this whole revolution?
Well, the book actually starts with an economist.
Really?
Yeah, a guy named Brian Arthur. He was having a hard time fitting in with the typical economics crowd.
I see. What was it about his ideas that didn't quite mesh with traditional economics?
He was trying to figure out why small things could have such massive ripple effects in the economy. Long-lasting ones, too.
Interesting. Like the butterfly effect, huh?
Exactly. He saw a problem with neoclassical economics, that idea that markets always find stability.
Right.
He saw the real world as way more dynamic, a lot less predictable.
Oh, for sure. And he uses the QWERTY keyboard to illustrate this point.
Yes, a great example. It's not the best layout, but it's stuck.
Totally. Like VHS winning over Betamax, even though Beta was supposed to be better.
Precisely. Arthur called this increasing returns, the idea that a small head start can lead to a lock-in.
I see. So even if something better comes along, it's tough to break free from that path. But how does complexity science come into all of this?
That's where things get interesting. Arthur stumbled upon complexity science.
And this was,
It was gaining traction among physicists, particularly at Los Alamos. They were looking at how simple elements could create these wildly complex behaviors.
so they're looking at things like traffic jams and ant colonies to understand the economy.
Exactly. It's about how the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts.
Wow. Never thought of it that way. But how did economists react to this whole complexity thing? I'm guessing they weren't all too thrilled.
Let's just say it was a mixed bag. There was this big meeting at the Santa Fe Institute, where economists and physicists gathered to talk complexity and its implications for economics.
Sounds like some pretty lively debates.
Oh, there were. The book even mentions a physicist suggesting economists might be, well, too smart for their own good.
Haha, it's funny. Highlighting those very different approaches to problem solving between the disciplines.
Exactly. And it really speaks to those distinct mindsets.
But the Santa Fe Institute was all about bringing these different minds together, wasn't it?
It was designed to be a place for unconventional thinkers to challenge each other's assumptions, to find new ways of seeing the world, really.
Makes sense. And that's where John Holland comes in, right? The computer scientist fascinated by games, turning biology into algorithms. His work feels like a crucial piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely. Holland pioneered adaptive agents and genetic algorithms. Think of programs that can learn and evolve over time, almost like living beings.
Wow, that's fascinating. So he was essentially challenging those economic models that assume people are perfectly rational.
Exactly. He was pushing for a more inductive approach, where agents learn from experience rather than perfect logic, and it gave Arthur a breakthrough in his own thinking.
That's where we start to see those early sparks of what would become the dream machine, wouldn't you say? It's like they were laying the groundwork for the revolution in computing.
You could definitely say that. And their goal went beyond just building machines. They really wanted to grasp how complexity emerges, how systems adapt and evolve, and how we could potentially recreate that artificially.
So it wasn't just about the technology itself, but using it to unravel the secrets of the world. It sounds like Arthur took this idea quite literally, envisioning a computer simulation of an entire economy.
That's right, an economy under glass, he called it, where things like companies, banks, even markets would just emerge naturally from the interactions of these simple agents in a computer program.
It sounds almost like something out of science fiction. Did they truly believe computers could capture something as complex as the real world? Weren't they being a bit too optimistic?
That's a great question, and it was definitely a point of debate back then. Some people doubted computers could truly capture human behavior and the nuances involved, but others were more hopeful, believing in their potential to illuminate those very complexities.
Seems like we'll have to keep delving into the dream machine to see how those ideas played out. But before we do, I'm curious about coevolution. It seems to be a key concept that emerged from this intersection of economics and complexity science.
Absolutely. Stuart Kauffman, a biologist, played a big role in this concept. He argued that evolution pushes systems to the edge of chaos, a really fascinating idea where things are constantly adapting and evolving, walking a tightrope between stability and unpredictable change.
So it's like a dance between order and chaos,
Hmm.
where things can change and adapt without falling apart entirely.
Exactly. He even used this image of species moving across a rubber landscape that shifts and changes as they adapt, a powerful metaphor for the unpredictable nature of coevolution.
Wow, that's a great way to visualize it. It shows that even the most stable systems are always in flux, responding to their environment. But we've been talking a lot about economics, and I know that complexity science goes way beyond just that, right?
Oh, absolutely. It started influencing our understanding of so many systems, from ecosystems and the immune system to even the human brain. It became this unifying framework for exploring the hidden patterns and connections that drive the world around us.
So the dream machine isn't just about the birth of computers, but a new way of seeing the world, appreciating the intricate web of interactions that shape our reality.
Precisely. It's a story about visionaries who dared to dream of a future where we could not only understand but also replicate and enhance the complexity we see in the world.
Such a powerful concept.
Yeah.
But how did all this theoretical exploration translate into the actual tangible computers we know today?
Well, that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. We'll explore how these ideas began to materialize in the physical world, leading to those machines that are now so central to our lives. Welcome back to our deep dive into the dream machine. Last time we were exploring the theoretical side of things, those early ideas that kind of paved the way for modern computing.
It's amazing to think that every gadget, every piece of technology we use has this whole backstory, a genealogy of thought behind it.
Exactly. And now we get to see how those ideas started to take shape in the real world.
So where do we begin?
Well, it's time to bring John von Neumann into the picture.
Ah, von Neumann, a true genius, deeply involved with the Manhattan Project.
Yeah, after the war, he shifted his focus to a different kind of challenge, building one of the very first electronic computers.
This is where the story of the von Neumann architecture begins, right? The blueprint that most computers still use today.
That's right. He didn't just want a machine that could crunch numbers. He envisioned a computer that could store and manipulate instructions, what we now know as programming.
That's such a huge conceptual leap. It's amazing how those early pioneers were already grappling with the idea of software.
Absolutely. But speaking of pioneers, how do you think John Holland, with his focus on adaptive agents and evolution, fit into this world of circuits and hardware?
It's a good question. His work seems so theoretical, almost philosophical at times.
It was. And his journey is a perfect example of how innovation can come from the most unexpected places. He started in physics, then moved to mathematics, and somewhere along the way, he stumbled upon a book that really captivated him, The Glass Bead Game by Hermann Hesse.
Hold on, a novel? What does a work of fiction have to do with computer science?
It might seem strange, but the novel depicts this incredibly complex game played with symbols and ideas, like a grand synthesis of human knowledge.
I see, you see.
And it resonated with Holland's fascination with interconnected systems and how they evolve.
So it's like finding a literary mirror to his own intellectual pursuits.
Precisely. And then his next inspiration came from, believe it or not, genetics.
Genetics, wow, okay.
He was fascinated by R.A. Fisher's work on natural selection, how genes mix and match to create new possibilities.
Ah, now I see where this is going. This is where the seeds of his genetic algorithms begin to sprout, right? Simulating evolution within a computer to find solutions.
You got it. Holland saw a parallel between the evolution of genes in nature and the way computer programs could be designed to learn and adapt.
So he imagined solutions represented as digital chromosomes, and then subjected them to processes like mutation and crossover, essentially mimicking natural selection.
Exactly. It's like he was creating a digital version of evolution.
Wow, that's incredible. So he was trying to design computer programs that could evolve on their own.
In a way, yes. He saw the power of natural selection and wondered if he could harness that same power for problem solving in a digital environment.
It's like creating a digital Petri dish, where programs could compete and evolve, right?
That's a great analogy. And as theoretical as it sounds, Holland's genetic algorithms have had a huge impact on practical fields like engineering.
Really? So they weren't just abstract ideas.
Not at all. They've been used to design airplane wings, even financial trading strategies.
That's really impressive. But what about his work on adaptive agents? How did that fit into all of this?
Well, his adaptive agents are basically computer programs that learn and change their behavior based on their experiences.
So they're not just following a set of pre-programmed instructions.
No, they have the ability to adapt and learn, which makes them crucial for creating those complex systems that can display emergent behavior.
Emergent behavior, right? Where the behavior of the system as a whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly. It's like those ant colonies we were talking about earlier.
Right, right. So we're starting to see how all these pieces fit together. Von Neumann gave us the hardware, while Holland provided a way to create programs that could learn and evolve within that framework.
Precisely. And that's what makes the dream machine so compelling. It's about this convergence of seemingly disparate ideas, all contributing to the story of modern computing. But as you see, this journey wasn't always smooth sailing. There were quite a few obstacles and detours along the way.
I bet. But before we dive into those, I want to touch upon this idea of artificial life that seems to have played a pretty significant role. It's a concept that always gets me thinking.
That's where Chris Langton comes in. He was a self-proclaimed computer hacker with a deep passion for biology, and while working at Massachusetts General Hospital, he stumbled upon something that really sparked his imagination: the game of life.
Oh, I've heard of that. It's that grid-based game where cells live or die based on simple rules, right?
Yes, it's amazing how such simple rules can lead to such intricate
It's
patterns.
like watching evolution unfold right there on your screen.
But how did Langton connect this to the bigger idea of artificial life? Well, he saw it as more than just a game. It sparked a bigger vision for him, the idea of creating artificial systems that could display those core characteristics of life, things like self-replication, adaptation, and evolution.
That's a pretty bold idea.
Hmm?
But what did artificial life actually look like back then? Was it more than just a theoretical concept?
Langton's first attempt involved a pretty monumental task: creating a self-replicating pattern within the game of life.
That sounds like a challenge.
It consumed him for years, but it ultimately led him to a really groundbreaking discovery: the concept of the edge of
The
chaos.
edge of chaos, it has a certain ring to it.
It does, doesn't it? Langton found that self-replicating patterns were most likely to emerge in the specific zone of the game of life, where the rules were neither too rigid nor too chaotic.
So it's like a Goldilocks zone for complexity. Not too hot, not too cold, just right for life to emerge.
Exactly. And he believed this edge of chaos could be a universal principle, this sweet spot where life is most likely to flourish.
That's fascinating. But how did this idea connect with the practical world of computing?
Well, Langton thought this edge of chaos might hold the key to building truly intelligent machines, systems that could adapt and evolve in unpredictable environments.
That's a pretty ambitious goal. Did his ideas gain any traction?
They did. His work really ignited a lot of interest in artificial life, drawing in researchers from all sorts of fields.
So it wasn't just a fringe idea.
Not at all. And the Santa Fe Institute, that melting pot of unconventional thinkers we discussed, became a hub for this emerging field.
Oh, the Santa Fe Institute. It seems like it played such a crucial role in bringing together all these different threads of thought.
It did. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll see how the dream machine started to become less of a dream and more of a reality as those ideas began to manifest into actual technology.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into the dream machine. We've covered so much ground already, from complexity in genetics to artificial life. It's been quite a journey.
It really has. And now we get to see how all these fascinating ideas come together to form the tangible reality of the computers we use every day.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how it all comes together. We left off talking about Brian Arthur and his vision of simulating an entire economy under glass to observe those emergent patterns.
Right. He imagined a world inside a computer where economic forces would play out naturally based on the interactions of these simple agents.
It's such a fascinating concept, but did he actually succeed in bringing that vision to life?
To a certain degree, yes. He started running these computer simulations, creating virtual worlds where agents could learn, adapt, and make decisions, all with imperfect information, just like in the real world.
So instead of just using equations to try and predict economic behavior, he was letting the system run its course and observing the results.
That's right. And it was a pretty innovative approach for the time.
It really was. So what were the results? Did his simulations actually reflect what happens in the real world?
Well, it's a bit complicated. His work was more of a proof of concept. He demonstrated that computer models could capture some of the dynamism and unpredictability of real economic systems.
I see. So it was like a digital mirror reflecting those intricate patterns of human behavior.
Exactly. And that theme of reflecting and understanding complexity runs throughout the dream machine. These pioneers weren't just trying to build faster computers, they were driven by this deeper desire to unravel the mysteries of how complex systems work, how we might even recreate them artificially.
It was about pushing the boundaries of knowledge, wasn't it? Weaving together science, technology, and even philosophy in the pursuit of understanding. But did all this theoretical exploration have any practical impact beyond the academic world? Did it lead to any real-world applications?
Absolutely. Take John Holland's genetic algorithms, for example. Those have been used to design everything from more efficient airplane wings to better financial trading strategies.
Wow, that's incredible. So these weren't just abstract ideas, they actually had a tangible impact on the world.
That's right. And as computers became more powerful, so did the ambitions of these visionaries. Remember Chris Langton's quest to create a self-replicating pattern in the game of life?
Yes, it's amazing how such a simple game could spark such groundbreaking research.
It really is. And his work paved the way for a much grander vision, the creation of artificial life, systems that could display the hallmarks of living organisms.
It's almost like science fiction becoming reality. But did anyone really believe we could create artificial life inside a computer?
Well, opinions were definitely divided. Some were skeptical, believing that computers could never truly capture the essence of life, while others were more optimistic. But regardless of your stance, Langton's work opened up a whole new field of research that's still active today.
It's incredible to think how those early explorations led to such groundbreaking advancements.
And that's what makes The Dream Machine such a captivating read. It's not just about the history of computing. It's about the human drive to explore the unknown, to grapple with complexity, and to dream big.
It really highlights that innovation isn't just about the technology itself. It's about the courage to ask those big questions, to challenge our assumptions, and to imagine a future that we can barely comprehend.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And to wrap things up, I'd like to leave our listeners with this thought. The Dream Machine was written decades ago. Imagine the dreams that are taking shape today, driven by the incredible progress in computing power and the fusion of fields like AI, biotech, and quantum computing. What dream machines will the future hold? What new revolutions will they spark?
Those are definitely questions worth pondering. And to everyone listening, we encourage you to keep exploring the ideas we've discussed today, to dive deeper into the world of complexity, and to never stop dreaming of what might be possible. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through the Dream Machine. It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.